Welcome to Reviews that Scare with Jess and Blair. I'm Jess.
I'm Blair.
Blair, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Yourself?
I am doing very well. The beautiful month of October is over. And boy, what a fun month it was. Jam-packed.
Yeah, it was
We
busy,
were
man.
busy. We were a couple busy boys.
Yeah, we were.
We sure were. We had a lot of fun with the Universal series, of course, and then the Treehouse of Horrors bonus episodes. But I am sure excited to get into a new theme for the month of November.
Me too.
And starting off with a classic, whether you love it or hate it, it is a classic. But before we do that, what do you say we chat a little bit about some horror news? Blairski, what do you got?
Got a couple things. So Terrifier 3 has a release date. I believe it is October 25th, 2024. Me and you saw what they're calling 2-minute teaser trailer at the end of a 2.5-hour movie in Terrifier 2. It was more like a 30-second teaser trailer.
It was. And that being said, the 30-second teaser trailer was really cool.
Yeah.
It teased again, and we got this from the poster, that it was going to be a Christmas slasher.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the release date, October 25th?
It's fine. It's fine. Gives us some time to look forward to it. And it's right around Halloween next year.
Totally. I get the Halloween. I kind of wish they would have put it out around Christmas time.
Yeah, I know. It's always, we've had this discussion before with Christmas horror movies. Do you put it out around Halloween or do you put it out around Christmas?
And I figure that around Christmas time, that's where a lot of big blockbusters come out. It's usually summertime, Christmas time. So do they dare compete with Marvel movies that I'm sure will be coming out around Christmas?
Yeah.
Or, October, and maybe have to deal with one of the Exorcist movies coming out, something like that. But
it's tough because I feel like still around Christmas time, you don't get that many horror movies released. So it would be nice to have a few more, right? Yeah.
I agree. What did you think of that? Sorry to totally hijack your horror news. What did you think of that experience of seeing Terrifier 2 in theaters?
It was fun. There's some people in the audience that were clearly enjoying it. I know you fell asleep.
Spoiler alert, I fell asleep. And then, in my defense, it was a late film.
Very late.
I had worked that day.
And the next day.
And it's a stinker of a movie. I did fall asleep. I do appreciate you, Blair, because throughout the movie, you were trying to engage me in conversation. It was definitely a movie that you felt you were able to speak freely during the movie.
Yeah.
And you were trying to keep me engaged throughout the movie. So I appreciate you trying to keep me awake.
I could see you fading a little bit.
Yeah. At one point, I needed to go and grab coffee, and concession was shut down, and I went into panic mode.
Too funny. I'm still on the Terrifier 3 thing. I had read that because of the success of the first two films, the big Hollywood studios wanted in on the third.
Of course.
They want in on the money. They want in on the
Of course they do.
But after reading the first 5 pages, basically the first 5 minutes of the movie for Terrifier 3, it became clear to Damien Leone that they would not allow him to make the movie how he wanted to. Apparently the first 5 minutes is going to be very controversial.
That's the thing. I can imagine that they would be all over doing Terrifier 3, these big studios, but it would be by their rules, like you said. If nothing else, the Terrifier franchise is known for its gore. I think that's why so many people love it. And that's just not, that kind of horror is not the kind of horror that gets the thumbs up in Hollywood.
No, you're not going to get Roger Ebert thumbs up for Terrifier.
No, or even, it's going to be rare that a big studio is going to give you, $20 million to give you, to make a movie like that. It's just not, even Saw, even Saw 10, it was gory, but it was nowhere near
a Terrifier movie.
Terrifier 2 gory.
Yeah.
Not a chance.
So that being said, Damien Leone will be making this movie himself once again, which, he was successful for his first two. Why not, right? Why not?
Yeah. And although I don't like it, if it's not broke, why fix it?
100%.
It's clearly, it's his baby. He's been with it since the beginning. He's created everything about it. Why not? You know, just keep doing it, man. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Totally agree. My last piece of horror news is after a shocking documentary on Hulu, the infamous McCamey Manor, as well as its owner Russ, is under investigation as the Attorney General of Tennessee has launched an investigation into the extreme haunt.
No way.
Yeah, and it's funny because we were out last night. We went to Dedmonton Lights Out event, and we were talking about McCamey Manor at one point in the night. And I just read this today.
So. I'm sure a lot of the listeners know what McCamey Manor is, but for those of you who don't, Blairski, did you want to chat a little bit about what McCamey Manor is?
Well, they call it an extreme haunt. It's in the States. It's run by a guy named Russ McCamey. Yeah. But it's basically just you sign some waivers to be tortured, basically. To me, it's not even a haunt. It's just people being tortured.
Yeah, it's pretty sadistic. From my understanding, it's like a 3-hour haunt. The wait list to get in is years in advance. And yeah, we were talking about it last night. There's some bits where like people walking through are subjected to waterboarding and like legit torture methods.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter how many waivers you sign. There's some things that you can't I don't think you're allowed to do. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. Because that's his big thing is he thinks he's untouchable because of these waivers.
Yeah.
We will see what happens with it. But pretty interesting news for sure.
Very interesting. It's definitely a haunt that's been around for a while and has been discussed for a long time within the horror community. That's for sure. So it'll be interesting to what comes out of that.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got a few pieces of horror news here. It's been a while since we chatted about HBO's smash hit The Last of Us.
Yes.
But we finally have an update regarding season 2. It was recently announced by HBO CEO Casey Bloys that they are looking to begin production for season 2 in early 2024.
So coming up quick then.
Yeah, with the premiere slated for sometime in 2025. Now, because of the ongoing actors strike, everything is currently up in the air. So, I mean, they're giving us kind of years.
Yeah.
And as far as we know, next week, the years could be completely thrown out the window. I mean, everything is up in the air. And I think, the CEOs, the heads of these studios are hoping that it's all going to be solved tomorrow, which is just not the case unless they're willing to compensate the actors. So, compensate the actors.
100%. It's been going on for a while now.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the ones that are making, $15 million, $20 million a film.
It's all the other ones.
Pay the ones who are waiting tables. Just do it.
Yeah.
And then final piece of horror news, more HBO news.
Yeah.
As the new Stephen King series, Welcome to Derry, one that we've talked about a while back.
Yeah.
Originally set to be released around Halloween of 2024, has officially been pushed back to sometime in 2025. It wasn't stated why the series, which is a prequel to It, was pushed back. But again, we can only imagine it has to do with the ongoing actors strike.
Yeah.
Again, pay your actors.
Yeah.
That's all I have for horror news. What do you say we jump into this week's episode? The first episode in the month of November, also known as Sequels Month. Finally, we're doing it, Blairski.
Yes, sir.
And what better way to start off Sequels Month than with the 1986 classic Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Runtime on this one, 1 hour, 41 minutes. Blairski, let's chat about that runtime, shall we?
In general, it's maybe a little long for me, but I didn't find it that long. I felt like this movie actually did go by pretty quick and smoothly for me. So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, you can kind of break down the movie into 2 sections.
Yeah.
It's basically pre Sawyer's Lair and then Sawyer's Lair. Yeah. The last 45 minutes take place in the Sawyer's Lair, which was interesting. And we'll talk about that later. But before we jump into likes and dislikes, let's talk about some fun facts. Blairski, do you have some fun facts for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2?
I do. I just got two. So Gunnar Hansen was initially approached to reprise his role as Leatherface. He claimed to have been offered scale plus 10%, with the 10% going to his agent. When he replied that he had no agent, they offered just scale with no 10%. So they wouldn't even give it to him. So he turned down the role as the offer was way too low.
Who'd have thunk? Another story of an actor not being paid.
Right.
Oh, goodness.
My last fun fact is, so Bill Moseley's in this as Chop Top, right?
Yes, indeed.
We're both big fans of Bill Moseley. So prior to this movie, Bill Moseley created a film parody entitled The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Okay. In which he played a small role as the hitchhiker.
Okay.
And he showed it to a screenwriter who was able to show it to Tobe Hooper. Hooper loved it and kept Moseley in mind just in case he was ever to make a sequel.
Excellent.
So when it came time to cast Chainsaw 2, Moseley was contacted for the role of Chop Top, who's actually the hitchhiker's twin brother.
Yeah. Really, really cool. We just love Bill Moseley at Reviews That Scare. This was only his second movie.
Yeah, he's so good, man. He's such a...
we'll get into it, but he is, in my opinion, a very, very high point of this movie. I've got a couple here. The corpse that Chop Top and Leatherface carry around with them throughout the movie, especially you'll see it at the beginning, the car chase chainsaw incident at the very beginning, is the corpse of Nubbin Sawyer, a.k.a. the hitchhiker.
Is it really?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I did not notice that or put two and two together or anything. Do they mention it at all?
They do. They mention it right at the end when Drayton Sawyer, the father, when he pulls the grenade out of the corpse, he calls him Nubbin Sawyer, which of course is the hitchhiker. So I thought that was really, really cool. Of course, the hitchhiker, one of the best parts about the original.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Dennis Hopper thought that this was the worst movie he'd ever been in. But then again, he had also said this same thing about 1993's Super Mario Brothers.
It's a pretty bad movie too.
Yeah, he was in some bad movies, but I mean, he was stoned out of his mind for most of them. So good on Dennis Hopper. Or Dennis Hopper, sorry. This one, of course, Bill Moseley, on the other hand, had stated that his role as Chop Top is his favorite role he's ever played.
Yeah, right on, man.
I love it. That's when you can tell that Dennis Hopper maybe isn't or maybe wasn't a horror fan and was maybe doing it strictly for the paycheck.
Yeah.
Where Bill Moseley, on the other hand, lives and breathes it, baby.
Yes, he does. He sure
does. That's him. Yeah. More fun facts. The last film to star Jim Sadow, who had played the cook and Drayton Sawyer. He was the only cast member to appear in the original, to also appear in part 2. What else here? Tom Savini. Of course, they got a shout out to Tom Savini.
Yes, sir.
Stated that the makeup effects he made for the character Grandpa was his proudest accomplishment.
They're pretty cool makeup.
Pretty cool. Really and cool. It is something, again, we'll talk about it in likes and dislikes, I'm sure. But the makeup for Grandpa in particular is quite different than in the original.
Yes.
His facial features they're noticeably different.
Yes.
But very, very cool. We'll get into it. Before we do that, let's talk about the fine folks who worked on this film. Directed by Tobe Hooper. Also directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1982's Poltergeist, 1979's Salem's Lot, 1976's Eaten Alive, 1981's The Funhouse, and 1986's Invaders from Mars, just to name a few.
Yes, sir.
Written by L.M. Kit Carson. Also wrote 1984's Paris, Texas, and produced the 1996 Wes Anderson film, Bottle Rocket. I believe that was Wes Anderson's first film. Pretty cool. Also written by Tobe Hooper, wrote 1969's Eggshells, 1995's The Mangler, and of course, my favorite, 1974's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This one starring Dennis Hopper as Lefty Enright. Where to start with him? He is one of Hollywood's most hated performers of all time. Rebel without a cause, that guy.
Yes, he is.
Which is pretty funny. He was apparently an extra in Rebel Without a Cause, which is kind of cool. But he also starred in 1969's Easy Rider, 1986's Blue Velvet, 1979's Apocalypse Now, 1967's Cool Hand Luke, and the villain in 1994's Speed.
Yes,
Big Speed fan. Hey, Blairski.
He's great in that movie. That's such a good movie.
It is so over the top, but a lot of fun. Yeah. Also starring Caroline Williams as Stretch. She was great in this. Also starred in 1995's Leprechaun, 2009's Halloween 2, Hatchet 3, and 2023's Renfield, which just came out, just to name a few. And then, of course, Bill Moseley is Chop Top. This was only his second film. He's also starred in 1989's Silent Night, Deadly Night 3.
Okay.
1990's Night of the Living Dead. 1992's Army of Darkness. 2003's House of a Thousand Corpses. 2005's The Devil's Rejects. 2000's Halloween. 2019's Three from Hell. And probably the scariest movie on his resume, 1992's Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. Brought to you by Disney. Also starring Jim Sadu as the cook, aka Drayton Sawyer. Also starred in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1980's Hot Wire, and 1971's The Wind Splitter. This was his last movie he ever made. His resume, I think, was only about 7 movies deep, but yeah, this was his last one. Icon. And then finally, Bill Johnson as Leatherface was the voice of Guardian in the Ultima video game series, starred in 1988's DOA, 1992's A Fight for Honor, and in one episode of the hit 90s television series Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. I do appreciate that pretty much for every movie, we can pick out one cast member who is either on Xena, Hercules, Hercules, Days of Our Lives, or Murder, She Wrote. I love it.
I do too.
This one, synopsis, courtesy of our dear friends at DB. A radio host is victimized by the cannibal family as a former Texas Marshal hunts them. Yeah. Lame. Yeah, it's I mean, the story itself, let's, before we talk about the story, let's go to, before we get into likes and dislikes, let's jump into one of our favorite segments, Kill Count.
Kill Count. The time of the show we count the kills.
Blairski, do we have a kill count for this one?
Oh, we do. We've got a total kill count of 8. But unfortunately, spoiler alert, that includes every single member of the Sawyer family.
Yeah. We
got more deaths of the killers than we do of actual victims of them.
That's right. I was going to say, well, to be fair,
it's like split, I think.
Yeah, 1974, the original didn't have a whole lot of kills either.
It didn't.
But this one, we see, spoiler alert, we see Chop Top die, we see Leatherface die, and obviously come back and die and come back and die and come back for years to come.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I believe this is the only time we see Chop Top, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Let's dive into likes and dislikes, the portion of the show where we talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, and everything in between. Blairski, what did you think of the kills in this one?
I wish there was more, but I did like them. I loved especially Chop Top's kill.
Yeah.
The kill that Chop Top was a part of anyway. It was very brutal. It was over the top, and I loved it. Are you talking,
remind me, are you talking the hammer scene in the radio station?
Yes, that's exactly
absolutely
what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. That one was really great. There were some great ones early. I love, first of all, those 2 goofball characters.
Oh, such losers, man.
I remember those glasses that had the reflective reptile lenses on them. I remember those.
I do too.
But that is the first part of the movie where we really get to see Tom Savini's excellent makeup, practical effects. where Leatherface takes off just a corner.
A nice chunk, if you will.
A good chunk of the guy's head, but it's just kind of hanging on for a little bit, and then it slides off, and you see the blood squirting out. It is Tom Savini at his best. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. The kills were few and far between.
They were good though. They were good. The ones that we saw were good.
Yeah, we of course we see a lot of chainsaw action. Maybe surprisingly, not. I would say Leatherface doesn't have as much screen time with the chainsaw as Dennis Hopper's character.
Dennis Hopper. Right?
Yeah, Lefty gets far more screen time with the chainsaw in this one. What else did you like about this one?
I love the narration segment at the beginning again. It was a good throwback to the original. Yeah. This time it was quite lengthy.
Yeah.
And it was almost like just letting you know what happened in the first movie, basically, right? It was a recap, basically.
What's happened in the first movie, basically what's happened since then. They weren't able to find anyone.
Which I found a little ridiculous. It's not that they couldn't find the actual people, but they said they couldn't find any shred of evidence. They couldn't find the house, bodies, blood trails, nothing, which, I mean, come on.
It's kind of weird, but I mean, I hate to go back to, I love to go back to the original, but for the sake of the sequels month, I hate to go back to the original. I mean, that movie feels so isolated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like trying to, especially when you've been through such a traumatic occurrence, it's like, I have no idea how to get back there. And even if I did, I would never go back.
Yeah, fair enough too, right? Like,
who knows?
Sorry, I can't help you.
No, I also loved that intro. There was quite a few nods to the original. Obviously, the intro scrolling message, but also in the Sawyer's lair at the end with the whole dinner scene. And of course with Grandpa and the hammer. That was so reminiscent of the 1974 original.
It was almost the exact same scene. Like it was almost the exact same scene.
They're getting him to hold the hammer and he's dropping it and pick it up and drop it and pick it up and drop it. Yeah, it was nice to get those nods. Yeah. Now, this is the first time you've seen this one, correct?
It was, yes. Yeah.
What were you expecting going into it? Were you expecting it to be this comedic?
No, okay. Well, so you had told me, you kind of gave me forewarning that it's a pretty goofy movie. And just hearing about it in the horror community, I kind of knew that. But I did not expect it to be as far out there as it was. Yeah. I have seen, obviously, the original Texas Chainsaw many times. I've seen the remake in the 2000s and like the brand new one too, the Netflix one.
Yep.
And all of them have at least one thing in common. They are more on the creepy aspect. They're darker, dingier, and
horrific.
Horrific, right? This one was completely opposite of that. It kind of threw me off a little bit. I loved Chop Top, though. I loved Chop Top. Yeah. He was goofy and he was out there, but he was still very sadistic in his goofiness, which I did like. It was a lot of the other characters, those two idiots at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. I didn't even mind Chop Top being as goofy. I mean, thinking back at the original, the character of the hitchhiker is a little bit goofy as well.
He is too. Yeah, he is.
Or goofy but strange. Whereas this one, like Shock Top, I keep calling him Shock Top.
I know.
Chop Top is he's a character. That's exactly what he's almost like a cartoon character.
Yeah.
But to start off the movie with those two yahoos,
man, I was very happy to watch them die.
Yeah, it is. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was first time watching them. I'm just like sitting there. I was like, I hope these two are not the main characters in this entire movie.
Yeah, it's such a left turn of a sequel.
Yeah,
and obviously it's 1986. It's. I love dark comedies. I love horror movies that play into comedy. And even Tobe Hooper was saying that the original, there was a lot of dark comedy in that one, which I don't recall it being overly intentional. So I think he really went far out with the second one to really really hammer home the comedy aspects of it, which maybe got a little bit tiresome at some points. The script was great. There were some really great lines that we'll get to, but I felt like the script, especially with Drayton Sawyer, the cook, I felt like a lot of it came off as not scripted, but not necessarily in a good way. I felt like it was improvised, but he didn't really know what to say, so it came off as just a little repetitive.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Which is fine. And then in the last 45 minutes too, there's an awful lot of screaming and an awful lot of Dennis Hopper yelling and running with chainsaws.
Yes, there is. The whole goofiness, the whole fact that this one's kind of a parody to the original is very similar to the Evil Dead and the Evil Dead 2. Very similar.
Very good point. Very good point. It feels like if somebody was making, I wouldn't even say like a spoof of the original. The original is just so gritty, and this one is just it's very camp. It's very camp.
Very much camp.
And I love camp. I mean, if you're gonna watch it for anything, watch it for the over the top camp slasher flick stuff. Do not anticipate that it's going to be as scary or as gritty as the original. Go into it with an open mind.
That might have been my mistake. I mean, I knew it was going to be goofy, but it threw me way off how goofy it was. Yeah. To the point, like I'm the same as you. I love camp. Yeah. But to me, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, through all my life of watching that series, even though I haven't seen this one yet, it has not been camp. I do not think camp when I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I was going to say, it's just not the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that you know, that you grew up
exactly.
You know? Yeah. So it's almost kind of shocking. It's like, what did they do to my sweet, sweet boy? What did they do to my Texas Chainsaw? Right. I honestly, I just put down here, less is more. Yeah. You look back at the original and they had very little to work with and it was just killer. And now I feel like they had maybe too much to work with. And certain things maybe came to a fault. The script was not my favorite. Like I said, it just felt a little bit improvised, and maybe not the best. But the characters, whether the actors figured them out or Tobe Hooper figured them out, Bill Moseley as Chop Top is fantastic. Like he is on if my Mount Rushmore is top 10, like Chop Top is in my top 10.
Oh, I know that for sure. I know how much you love that character. How about the names of all the characters in this movie? So we had Stretch, Lefty, Chop Top, Buzz, Rick the Prick.
Bubba, they call Leatherface Bubba. Yeah. And it's even with the Sawyer family throughout the timeline of Texas Chainsaw, the names of all of the characters change pretty frequently. I love the nicknames. I think they're great.
I definitely have that in my likes portion, as I loved all the unique names used for the characters for sure.
Yeah, I did. I loved Stretch. I thought Stretch was great.
Yeah, she was.
I thought Stretch and who was it, LG? That was his name? LG. I thought anytime they were together, all of their stuff at the radio station, all of their stuff at the chili cook-off, I thought it was great.
How about that chili cook-off? It's pretty wild that the Sawyer family is basically feeding the entire town humans.
Yeah, he's got even in that scene where the woman takes a big old bite and is flirting with him, and pulls out what looks like a chunk of bone, and he passes it off as though just one of those big peppercorns. Just a big old peppercorn.
Great, man.
It's just the comedy aspect of it where it's like they have no idea. It's great. It's a complete 180 of a sequel.
It is. It really is.
What did you think of the music?
I don't have anything written down for the music. So what did you think about the music? I can't even think about it right now.
I did not like the music at all. It was not, it gave me zero Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes.
Yeah.
It was very 80s synth, which is not what I think of when I think of Texas Chainsaw, but it makes up for it because they play Goo Goo Muck by the Cramps. And then I just wrote down the Cramps. We love the Cramps.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, I love the Cramps so much. So as soon as that came on, I was like, yeah, that makes up for, the rest of the bad music in this movie.
Everything's okay.
Yeah.
What about Leatherface? What did you feel about Leatherface? I did not like Leatherface, man.
Neither did I. It is not. Leatherface is supposed to be
menacing.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the most. I mean, in a family of maniacs, he is supposed to be the one who's, he's the most vicious.
Yeah.
And in this movie, it's like, okay, let's give Leatherface a heart. Let's make him fall in love with a gal.
Yeah.
Let's give him like a really weird slow dance scene. Yeah, and also the mask is not my favorite. This is one of my least favorite Leatherface masks. Which it sucks because that opening scene, again, the car chase scene, that is the Leatherface that I'm hoping for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, we don't get it.
And then he just, for the rest of the movie, just kind of comes off as like a goofball.
He doesn't even attack with his chainsaw. He just stands there holding it and shaking, like doing a little jig.
He's like one of those hula girls that you have on the dash of your car. Yeah, it's he was not overly menacing in this one, especially compared to. I would be really interested to see what Gunnar Hansen would have done with Leatherface.
I feel like it would have been a totally different movie, man.
I was going to say I can't imagine he would have let that fly.
No.
Oh goodness. What else do we have here? What did you think of the end scene?
Very quick and abrupt. I just was reading that, man. Very abrupt and quick ending once again.
Kind of a nice, abrupt, kind of a nice throwback again to the original, where in this case you have Stretch twirling around with a chainsaw, doing very similar mannerisms to Leatherface in the original, which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah. It was an hour and 40-minute movie, but just that the whole, I guess, climax and ending just seemed to happen really fast.
Yeah, out of nowhere. Let's see, what else do we got here? I would say this movie is more unsettling than scary.
Yeah, to me it wasn't even that. To me it was straight goofy.
It is a goofy film. That being said, highlights of this movie: Bill Moseley.
Chop Top for sure, man. Chop Top.
Bill Moseley was great. Low side of this movie: Leatherface.
Yeah.
How do you have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie and the low part is Leatherface, unfortunately?
I know.
I hate saying that, but
it's like Halloween Ends being Michael Myers being the low point of that movie, right?
Honestly, you never want to have your killer, your main killer, being this character that we just laugh at.
Yeah.
Like on purpose. It's like, this is so goofy. What are you doing? But oh well, what are you gonna do? I think we've chatted enough about likes and dislikes. What do you say we move right along?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Our next segment, which is lessons we learned from watching 1986's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Lessons we learned from watching. Insert title of movie here. The segment of the show where we talk about the valuable life lessons we learned from watching said movie. Blairski, did you learn a single thing after watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2?
I learned a chainsaw sounds an awfully lot like a buzzsaw over the phone, as per LG.
Yeah.
I learned that when destroying the structural integrity of a cave or tunnel system, make sure you're not currently inside that cave or tunnel system.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Dennis Hopper just running around, just destroying everything he sees.
Yeah, he's not calling before he digs. He's not doing his best.
No caution to the madness at all.
No, at all.
Last thing I learned is sex is spelled SCEX.
That's right.
I can't remember the scene fully, but
as
they
per
do
the dictionary.
they do spell sex with a C.
Why not? It's a silent C.
Yeah.
I've got a couple here. The character's name is Chop Top and not Shock Top, like I've been calling him for the last 10 years.
You and me both, though. Man.
Stupid. Oh, goodness. What else did I learn? The secret to a fabulously tasty chili is the meat.
Yeah.
Don't skimp on the meat.
Yeah.
And then finally, the last thing I learned is Grandpa Sawyer is 137 years old.
Yeah. Living off the blood.
Grandpa Sawyer should be in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yeah, he should.
Dear Lord. This leads us to our next segment. Some might say it's our favorite. It is Line of the Night.
Line of the Night. Line of the Night. Line of the Night. Line of the Night. Line of the Night. Line of the Night. Line of the Night. Line of the Night. Line of the Night.
The segment of the show where we discuss our favorite lines from the movie. They might give us chills, they might give us the giggles. All we know is that they are our favorites, Blairski.
Yes, sir.
Got a few lines?
I got about 5 or 6 of them, but majority are short and sweet.
Cool.
Hook 'em horns, baby.
Hook them horns.
Hook 'em horns. Said by
horns.
Buzz multiple times at the beginning of the movie.
Big Texas fan. Hook them horns.
Another one that was said multiple times by the character Chop Top, Nomland.
Yeah, he wants to make a theme park called Nomland.
Yeah, he just loves Vietnam.
Yeah.
He wants to just relive Vietnam War for the rest
relive
of
his
life.
old Nom days. Yeah.
This one you just mentioned pretty much. When we first meet Cook, and he's winning the award for best chili, and they're asking him what the secret to his chili is. He says, "No secret, it's the meat. Don't skimp on the meat. I got a real good eye for prime meat. It runs in the family." Awesome line.
Good
awesome
line. Really, really good line. Yeah, keep it in the family. Great line.
Another one by Chop Top. "Leatherface, you bitch. Look what you did to my Sonny Bono wig dude."
I love that. The Sonny Bono wig bit. That is one of my favorite lines of the movie.
It's so good. My last line of the night. This one, it's the big one. It's a big one. Said by Cook. "The saw is family."
I like that.
Great line.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple here. Lefty.
Yeah.
Tells exactly what they raised. Referring to 2 guys at the beginning. I thought that was a pretty cool line.
Yeah.
This was kind of an odd line out of nowhere. The chainsaw salesman, after he sees Lefty testing out the chainsaw like a maniac, says, "Oh, my aching banana."
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, goodness. We have Chop Top who says, "You dented my plate. My brain is burning. Nom flashback. Nom flashback." Yep. And then finally, Drayton Sawyer says, "Damn property taxes fuck up everything."
I almost wrote that down.
Yeah. There's a bunch we missed, but yeah, this movie does have some great lines.
It's chock full of them, man. It is chock full of good lines.
Yeah. This leads to our final segment, our favorite segment of the show, Celebrity Lookalike Time.
Celebrity Lookalike Time.
The time of the show where we take a look at the cast and discuss their celebrity doppelgangers. Spoiler alert, it usually comes down to the character's hairstyle. Blairski, do you have a couple celebrity lookalikes?
I got 2. So the old guy at the chainsaw store.
Yep.
The ones you were just talking about. He reminded me of Hank Hill from King of the Hill.
Okay. Propane and propane accessories.
Right.
Excellent.
Then finally, Chop Top, Cook, and Leatherface all together, especially in the Sawyer's Lair at the end, reminded me of the Three Stooges.
That would be Larry, Curly, and Moe.
And Moe, yeah.
And sometimes Shemp. Well done. That's a great one. That is an awesome one. I've got a couple here. Drayton Sawyer reminded me of both Fred Rogers, aka Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
If Mr. Rogers hadn't slept in a week. And then also, if you were to throw a pair of black horn-rimmed glasses on him, he would look like popcorn aficionado Orville Redenbacher.
I thought this same thing.
Yeah.
I thought that same thing. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like just throw on some glasses and bam, we're popping corn. And then finally, I thought Stretch reminded me a little bit of both Courtney Cox and Angelica Houston.
Okay. Yeah. I knew she was looking like somebody. I just couldn't pinpoint it.
Yeah. It gave me Gale Weathers vibes for sure. Yeah. This leads to our final rating for 1986's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Blairski, out of 5 red hot coat hangers used to scratch an uncurable itch. What do you give Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2?
I'm going to be giving it 2 red hot coat hangers used to scratch an incurable itch out of 5.
Okay, it's a tough one. I'm going to be rating it a little bit higher, and it's strictly because of Chop Top and the cramps. I'm going to give it 3 red hot coat hangers used to scratch an incurable itch out of 5. This movie was a sequel. It was a 180 of a sequel. It was a left turn of a sequel.
Yeah, completely left turn. Chop Top was the best part of the movie.
Chop Top was great. Don't go into it if you haven't watched it. Don't go into it expecting the bloodbath that we've seen from the remakes or from the original. Just go into it as if none of the other movies exist.
To be fair, if I watch it again, like say we were to review it again, maybe down the road, I'd probably give it a higher score because I know what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
And
you can just kind of appreciate it for other things.
Exactly. Right. And it's just, to me, it was so far off what I know about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It threw me off. And just, I hated Leatherface, which was a big deal for me. So. Yeah,
it's tough to get behind Texas Chainsaw Massacre when you dislike Leatherface, who's one of the most, iconic, lovable horror characters of all time.
Yeah.
And if you don't love him, how could you possibly get behind a movie?
As I said, thank God for Chop Top.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, that was fun. That was the first movie of out of 4 for this month, and the next 3 are going to be excellent.
Yes, they are. I'm excited for our next one, man.
Me too. We'll have a special guest host if all things go according to plan. I know that our guest host is quite excited about it. So we'll, I'm excited for that. But until then, this has been Reviews at Scare with Jess and Blair. I'm Jess.
I'm Blair. Remember to stay scary.
That's
a good one.
every sandwich.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Reviews at Scare. Make sure you check out our Linktree at linktree/Reviews at Scare. That's linktr.ee/reviewsatscare, which has links to our Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, Twitch, and many other things. If you'd like to email us, you can reach us at reviewsatscare@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to stay scary and eat every sandwich. A proud member of Pod Nation TV.